Are you our new mommy? 3 little voices said at the same time. They were triplets, all 6 years old, speaking in perfect unison. Their tiny hands moved in smooth sign language as they waited for an answer. Their eyes were wide, shining with hope, curiosity, and excitement. Saris Damaris, the woman standing there, froze. She was beautiful, with long dark hair and gentle eyes, but her cheeks were still wet with tears from a very painful moment that had just happened. She felt her chest tighten. She had never been asked something like that before. She had never been seen the way these children were seeing her, all at once. But before I continue, hit the subscribe button and tell me where are you watching this from, and what time of day is it? Saris's story was not an easy one. She was deaf, which meant she couldn't hear anything at all. Her parents had tried to help her find someone to take care of her, and perhaps marry her. That night, her parents had arranged a blind date for her. A blind date is when someone you do not know comes to meet you because your family hopes it might work out. But that dinner had been very, very hard for Saris. Her parents, in their calm and polite way, had said things that hurt her deeply. They thought they were being kind, but the words felt like knives. Her father looked at her and said softly, "Saris needs someone patient, not a real marriage." Her older sister, Lauren, added with a smile, "Yeah, she needs someone really patient." Saris's heart sank. She read every word on their lips. She felt small, unwanted, and invisible. When the dinner ended, her parents didn't even try to comfort her. They stood up, smiling politely to everyone else, and whispered to each other as they walked away. Saris saw their lips saying, "We should never have had her. She was a mistake." They left her alone in the middle of a shiny, glittering restaurant. The chandeliers sparkled above her, other diners laughed, and glasses clinked, but Saris felt like she was trapped in silence. Her hands trembled as she reached for her water glass. She accidentally knocked it over, and the water spilled across the white tablecloth in a slow, dark stain. Her small purse felt heavy against her shoulder as she tried to gather her things. Her phone, her keys, a small wallet, all tumbled onto the floor. Her cheeks burned as she bent down to pick them up. Then a man's hand appeared and gently put her keys into her palm. He was tall, with dark hair and kind eyes. He knelt beside her, not crowding her, and smiled gently. He moved his hands clearly in sign language and asked, "Are you okay?" Saris blinked. No one had ever signed to her in a place like this before. She felt surprised and a little hopeful. She signed back automatically, "Yes, thank you." The man smiled a little more. "I'm Cashin Vale," he signed. "My son is deaf, so we all use ASL at home. I saw what happened earlier. You don't have to talk if you don't want to." Saris stared at him. His eyes were calm, understanding, and full of no pity at all. She signed back, "I'm Saris. I didn't think anyone would notice me." Cashin nodded slowly. "It's hard when people don't see you," he signed. "But I do." Behind him, 3 small children sat at the table, watching curiously. One boy with short brown hair already signed quickly to the others, and the 2 girls leaned forward with wide eyes. Cashin glanced back at them and signed, "Be patient, kids." Saris felt a small smile tug at her lips despite everything that had happened that night. The children were curious, innocent, and full of energy. Cashin explained with a smile, "They are triplets. Zephyr is deaf, like you. The girls are Lyra and Kian. They don't always understand boundaries, but they mean well. They're sweet." Cashin paused, then added, "If you need a minute to sit down, there's an empty chair at our table. No pressure at all." Saris hesitated. Part of her wanted to run and hide. But another part of her, the part that had felt invisible for so long, wanted to stay. She signed slowly, "Okay, just for a minute." Cashin pulled out the chair and helped her sit down. The children's faces lit up immediately. Zephyr signed first, slowly and carefully. "Hi, I'm Zephyr." Saris smiled, signing back. "Hi, Zephyr, I'm Saris." Lyra waved and signed. "You sign like us." Kian nodded fast, signing. "Dad taught us because of Zephyr." Saris felt something loosen in her chest. For the first time that night, someone had noticed her and truly understood. The children didn't ask why she was upset or what had happened with her parents. They just wanted to share their world with her. Zephyr started signing about his favorite games. Lyra and Kian joined in. Saris signed back, sharing little stories about school and her drawings. She laughed at Kian's dramatic reenactment of a school play. The room around them, full of glittering lights and busy diners, seemed to fade away. For the first time that evening, Saris didn't feel alone. Cashin stayed quietly nearby, giving them space. He didn't try to control the conversation or make it about him. He just watched as the children pulled Saris into their world. Zephyr showed Saris a drawing he had made on a napkin, a stick figure family holding hands. Lyra asked if Saris liked animals. Kian wanted to know if she could do cartwheels. Saris signed and answered each question, laughing along with their energy. Each small conversation made her feel lighter and happier. The children didn't treat her as someone different. They treated her like someone interesting. They treated her like a friend, not a stranger. Saris didn't need to explain her deafness or apologize for it. It just was, and they accepted it. When the waiter came to clear the plates, Cashin signed to Saris, "You don't have to leave if you don't want to." Saris signed back, "I think I'll stay a little longer." For the next hour, the children drew pictures, signed stories, and laughed at each other's silly jokes. Zephyr carefully showed Saris how to fold a napkin into a tower. She followed his hands step by step, mirroring him. Kian pretended to be a dinosaur, making everyone laugh. Lyra drew a princess and signed, "This is me when I grow up." Saris signed back encouragingly, "That's beautiful." Cashin watched, smiling quietly. He didn't hover or interrupt. He simply allowed the children and Saris to connect. The children asked about her favorite colors. Saris loved blue. They asked about her favorite animals. She loved cats. They asked about ice cream. Yes, she loved chocolate ice cream. For the first time in a long while, Saris felt normal. She didn't feel like she had to hide or explain herself. She was simply Saris, and that was enough. As the evening went on, the children continued to ask questions. Lyra asked, "Do you have brothers or sisters?" Saris signed, "I have one sister." Kian asked, "Is she fun?" Saris hesitated for a moment, then signed, "Not always." Zephyr smiled and signed, "That's okay. We have fun here." The conversation kept flowing. The children drew more pictures on napkins, showing Saris their tiny worlds. Kian drew a race car. Lyra drew a castle with a princess waving from the tower. Zephyr folded his napkin tower, even taller than before. Saris signed back her amazement, and the children cheered. Cashin finally walked over and signed, "They are not overwhelming you, are they?" Saris shook her head and signed, "No, they're perfect." Cashin signed to the children, "Time to finish eating, kids." They groaned, but obeyed, gathering their drawings and crayons. Before Saris left, Zephyr signed slowly, "Will you come play again?" Saris signed back, "I hope so." Lyra signed, "Promise." Saris signed, "Promise." Kian signed, "Bye." They waved, their small hands moving in perfect unison. Saris felt her heart lift. For the first time in years, the silence inside her felt lighter. She wasn't invisible anymore. She was seen, understood, and accepted. As she walked toward the door, she glanced back. The children waved, their hands moving in perfect rhythm. Zephyr Orion Vale carefully signed his full name with pride, forming each letter perfectly. Saris stepped outside into the cool Las Vegas night. The air smelled faintly of the desert, dry and clean. She took a deep breath and felt something inside her shift. Not hope yet, not really, but maybe the possibility that she wasn't as alone as she had thought. Maybe, just maybe, there were people in the world who would see her for who she really was. She thought about her parents, who had left her alone in the restaurant. Their words had hurt, but she realized she didn't have to carry that pain forever. Cashin walked beside her for a moment, smiling softly. He signed, "It was good meeting you. The children liked you very much." Saris signed back, "Thank you for letting me be part of their world for a little while." They exchanged small smiles. Then Cashin and the children went back into the restaurant, their laughter and signing still echoing softly in her memory. Saris walked down the glittering streets of Las Vegas. The neon lights reflected on the pavement like tiny stars. She thought about the children, the way they accepted her immediately, the way they didn't care that she was deaf. They had welcomed her into their world. For the first time in a long time, Saris didn't feel heavy with loneliness. She felt light, almost like she was floating a little. She couldn't wait to see Zephyr, Lyra, and Kian again. She imagined them running toward her, small hands moving quickly in sign language, laughter filling the air. As she walked back to her hotel, Saris thought, maybe family isn't only the people you are born into. Maybe family is the people who see you, who understand you, and who make you feel like you belong. And maybe, just maybe, she had found a tiny part of that family tonight. The triplets, in their small, earnest way, had reminded her that even in a big, loud, and sometimes lonely world, there were people who could speak her language. Not only the language of signs, but the language of kindness, acceptance, and understanding. Saris held that thought close to her heart. For the first time in a long while, she felt safe. She felt seen. She felt happy. And that night, in the bright lights of Las Vegas, Saris Damaris learned something very important. Even after pain, rejection, and silence, small miracles could happen. They could come in the form of 3 small children, a kind father, and a few moments of shared laughter and signs. For the first time, Saris smiled a real smile. One that reached her eyes and her heart. And she knew deep down that she would never forget Zephyr, Lyra, Kian, or Cashin. They had given her something no one else had for a long time, a place where she belonged. And maybe, just maybe, someday she could be like them for someone else. Someone who felt unseen, unwanted, or forgotten. Someone who needed to know that even in a world full of noise, there were pockets of quiet love and understanding waiting to be discovered. The children's small hands waving goodbye stayed in her mind. Their excitement, their curiosity, their trust, they had welcomed her without question. And Saris realized that for the first time in a long while, she didn't feel invisible. She walked back to her hotel, thinking about how the future might look. She didn't know what would happen next, but she felt ready to find out. She felt ready to live, to laugh, and maybe even to love again. She felt ready to be herself, fully and completely, without apology. Saris Damaris had discovered something rare that night. She had discovered kindness, acceptance, and a small, perfect family. She had discovered that even after being hurt and rejected, there was still joy, laughter, and love waiting somewhere in the world. And for the first time in a very long time, Saris believed that maybe, just maybe, miracles were real. Lyra Celestine Vale moved her hands quickly and Celestinefully while signing her name. Lyra Celestine Vale. Kian Evan Vale bounced a little as he signed. Kian Evan Vale. Saris signed back, smiling. Those are beautiful names. I'm Saris Damaris. The children nodded, like they were making a secret promise to each other. Zephyr signed. I like building things. Towers, bridges, anything that stands tall. Lyra signed. I like drawing. Horses, princesses, flowers everywhere. Kian signed excitedly. I like running and jumping super fast. Saris signed. You all have amazing talents. I can tell. The children smiled big, their eyes bright with happiness. Zephyr grabbed a napkin and started folding it into a tiny tower. He signed each step carefully, fold this way, then this way. Saris copied him, her hands moving the same way as his. She loved the way it felt to match someone else's movements so perfectly. Lyra picked up a crayon and drew a horse on another napkin. She signed, This is for you to keep. Kian signed with excitement. Now let's play a game. They played a game called charades, but only using sign language. Zephyr acted like he was building a castle, swinging his arms like hammers. Lyra guessed right away and clapped. Kian pretended to be a race car, zooming around and making his arms go fast. Cashin signed gently. Easy, Kian. Saris joined in, signing and acting out a picture. The children guessed quickly and laughed when she added too many brush strokes. Everyone slowed down a little when someone needed it. No one asked if Saris was okay. They just moved together like a team. Saris felt something change inside her. In this small circle, her deafness didn't matter. It wasn't a problem to fix. It was just part of the fun. The children didn't look at her with pity. They looked with curiosity and happiness. Zephyr signed. Your turn again. Saris thought for a moment and then signed and acted, reading a book. Kian signed. Story time. Lyra signed. I love stories too. The game kept going. Lyra acted like she was riding a horse. Kian jumped like he was racing. Zephyr built an invisible bridge with his arms. Saris laughed, her signs becoming more lively and confident. Cashin stayed back and watched. He only signed a little to remind them to share turns. He let the moment belong to the children. When the children started to tire, Cashin signed, Time to wrap up. They groaned but began collecting the napkins and crayons. Zephyr handed Saris the folded tower. For you, he signed. Lyra gave her the horse drawing. Keep it forever. Kian signed. You can come play more. Saris signed. I'd like that very much. Cashin signed to her. They don't do this with everyone. You must be special. Saris signed back. They're the special ones. The children waved goodbye, their hands moving together. Bye, Saris. Zephyr signed. See you again. Saris signed. See you again. Lyra signed, promise. Saris signed, promise. Kian signed, bye. They waved until Cashin guided them back to their chairs. Saris stood there, feeling the warmth of their little world. She signed to Cashin, Thank you for this. Cashin signed, Thank you for playing with them. Saris carried the napkin tower and horse drawing as she walked outside. A real smile stayed on her face, the first one in a long time. A few weeks later, Saris's phone buzzed. It was a message from Cashin. The kids keep asking about you. Would you like to come over just to say thank you? No pressure. Saris stared at the screen for a long moment. Then she typed, I'd love to. Cashin sent the address. It was a quiet neighborhood in Las Vegas, far from the busy strip. The house was big but welcoming, with a wide porch and a backyard you could see from the driveway. Saris parked her car and walked up the steps. Her heart beat a little faster. Cashin opened the door before she could knock. He signed, You made it. Come in. Inside, the house was warm and cozy. Family photos hung on the walls. Toys were scattered but neat, like little islands of fun. On one wall, a big, colorful painting caught her eye. The colors swirled like magic, and it made her feel happy just looking at it. In the corner study, she saw blueprints and drawings of buildings with Vale projects written on them. A housekeeper appeared. Good evening, Mr. Vale. Dinner is almost ready. Cashin signed to Saris. That's Amara. She helps with the house. Saris signed. Thank you for having me. Before she could say more, the children ran in holding a handmade banner. It said, Welcome, Saris, in bright colors and glitter. Zephyr signed excitedly. We made this. Lyra signed. For you. Kian signed. Surprise. Saris's eyes grew wide. She signed. It's beautiful. Thank you. The children took her to the living room where a small table had snacks and juice. They gave her their gifts one by one. Zephyr handed her a smooth blue-painted stone. This is a worry stone. Rub it when you're worried. I painted it myself. Saris signed. It's perfect, Zephyr. Thank you. Lyra gave her a bracelet made of colorful beads. I strung it. The colors are happy ones. Saris signed. I love it, Lyra. Kian gave her a drawing of the four of them holding hands. That's us. We're friends now. Saris signed. You're right. We are. She felt a lump in her throat, but a happy kind. The gifts were simple but full of love. No one had ever given her something so personal without asking for anything in return. Cashin signed quietly. They planned this all week. Saris signed. You didn't have to do this. Cashin signed. We wanted to. The children took her to the backyard. They had set up a small picnic with blankets and snacks. They played tag and other games, signing as they ran. Saris chased Kian, pretending to be slow, and they both laughed until their faces hurt from smiling. As the sun went down, they sat on the blankets. Zephyr signed. Do you like our house? Saris signed. It's wonderful. It feels like a real home. Lyra signed. You can come anytime. Kian signed. Yeah, every day. Cashin signed to them. Let's not scare her off. The children giggled. Amara brought out dinner. Simple pasta and salad. They ate together, singing about school, cartoons, and silly jokes. Saris loved how normal and happy everything felt. Saris signed to Cashin. This is more than I expected. Cashin signed. The kids missed you. And honestly, so did I. She looked at him, surprised. He didn't push, he just let the moment stay calm and easy. After dinner, the children showed her their rooms. Zephyr's room had building blocks and model sets everywhere. Lyra's walls were covered with her drawings. Kian's room had sports equipment scattered all around. When it was time to go, the children hugged her tight. Zephyr signed, come back soon. Saris signed, I will. Cashin walked her to the door, signing, thank you for coming. It meant a lot to them. Saris signed, it meant a lot to me too. She touched the worry stone in her pocket and smiled. For the first time in years, she felt truly seen. Not someone who needed fixing, but someone who belonged. Saris often thought about the night that changed her life forever. 7 years earlier, she had been driving home from work when another car ran a red light and crashed into the side of her car. The crash threw her against the window, and when she woke up in the hospital, the world was silent. The doctors explained that the damage to her hearing nerves was permanent. She could no longer hear. At first, her family tried to visit. Her parents brought flowers and magazines. Her sister Lauren came too, but the visits got shorter and shorter. Conversations became awkward. People talked slower, louder, or sometimes not at all. Her parents started speaking over her head, like she wasn't really there. Her mother whispered once, "It's hard she can't keep up." Her father nodded. "She's become a burden." They didn't say it to her face, but Saris could read their lips. Lauren was worse. She would sign poorly on purpose, then laugh when Saris asked her to repeat. "It's just easier for everyone else," Lauren said. Over time, family dinners stopped. Holidays became days Saris spent alone. She learned to smile and nod, pretending she understood. But inside, the silence felt louder than any sound she had ever known. Cashin's story was different, but just as sad in its own way. When the triplets were born, he was full of joy. His wife, Isolde, had seemed happy too at first. But when the reality of 3 babies hit, she started to withdraw. Late nights, crying babies, endless feedings, it was too much for her. One evening, she packed a bag and left. "I can't do this," she said. She didn't fight for custody. She just signed the papers and disappeared. Cashin raised the 3 children alone. He learned ASL to communicate with Zephyr and took long hours at work to keep the family business running. He wanted the kids to have a simple, happy life. They went to public school, played in the yard, and knew their dad just as dad, not as someone famous or rich. Back in the present, Sarah started visiting Cashin's house more often. She came for dinner one evening and helped Amara set the table. The children ran around, laughing and signing. Zephyr asked questions about her work. Lyra showed her newest drawings. Kian dragged her outside for races in the backyard. After dinner, they all sat in the living room. The children played quietly with blocks while Cashin and Saris signed to each other on the couch. Cashin signed slowly. "I need to tell you something." Saris waited, curious. He signed. "I like you, Saris. Not just because you are good with the kids. Because of you. The way you listen, the way you laugh, the way you make everything feel easier." Saris's heart beat fast. She signed back, "I like you too more than I expected." He smiled and reached for her hand. They sat together quietly, holding hands. The children noticed and signed excitedly. "Are you staying forever?" Saris signed, "Maybe." Cashin signed, "Let's take it slow." Evenings continued like that. Saris helped Zephyr with building projects, teaching him new folding techniques. She read stories to Lyra, signing each page. Kian dragged her outside for tag, laughing when she pretended to be slow. One night, after the children were asleep, Saris and Cashin sat on the porch. He signed, "I never thought I'd find someone who fits like this." Saris rested her head on his shoulder and signed, "I thought I'd always be alone." He signed, "You're not alone anymore." Their connection grew quietly. Cashin shared stories about his work, careful not to brag. Saris shared her dreams and talked about places she wanted to see. They laughed about small things and signed about big ones. The children started calling Saris by name more often, with love. Zephyr signed, "You're part of our team." Lyra signed, "Like family." Kian signed, "Don't leave." Saris signed, "I won't." Cashin watched, feeling his love grow stronger every day. He didn't use his money to impress her. Dinners were simple, home-cooked. Outings were to the park, just playing. That was enough. One evening, they watched the sunset from the backyard. Cashin signed, "I want this every day." Saris signed, "Me too." Their hands stayed linked as the sky darkened. The silence between them was no longer empty. It was full of promise. 1 year later, Cashin chose the same restaurant in Las Vegas where everything had started. He had reserved a small, quiet table in the corner where they could see all the bright, sparkling lights of the city. The children were wearing matching shirts with the word yes written in big, bold letters. They were giggling and jumping with excitement, waiting for the big surprise. Saris arrived wearing a simple, pretty dress. She didn't know what Cashin had planned. When she saw him, he asked her, "Remember this place?" She signed back with a smile, "How could I forget?" They sat down at the table, and the children bounced with excitement. Cashin held Saris's hand and signed slowly. "Saris, you have changed our lives. You brought happiness back into our home. I love you not for what you do, but for who you are." Then he knelt down on one knee and pulled out a small ring. The children held up a tiny banner they had made that said, "Will you marry us?" Saris's eyes filled with tears. She signed back, "Yes. Yes to all of you." Cashin and Saris kissed gently and softly. The children clapped their hands and laughed with joy. They jumped up and down, cheering and hugging each other. News about the proposal spread very quickly. Friends shared pictures and videos on social media. Saris's family, her mother, father, and her sister Lauren, saw the news online. A few days later, Saris's phone lit up with messages. First, her mother wrote, "We saw the news. We are so happy for you. We have missed you." Then her father wrote, "Family is family. Let's talk." Lauren sent a longer message that said, "I was wrong. We all were. Do you remember when we used to play together? We want to be part of your life again." Saris read the messages and felt a mix of old sadness and careful thinking. She didn't answer them right away. Later, her family called her on the phone. Her mother spoke softly. "We have been thinking about everything. We were wrong to push you away. Please let us make it right. Her father added, We love you, Saris. Come home for a visit. Lauren said, I'm sorry for how I acted before. I was young and foolish. We can be a family again. Even though they were apologizing, Saris noticed something strange. The apologies felt a little fake, like they cared more about looking good than about her. They didn't talk about Cashin's work at all yet. Saris signed to Cashin about the messages. He signed, It's your choice what you want to do. Saris waited carefully. Finally, she agreed to a short meeting at a cafe in a neutral place. Her family arrived, smiling and looking happy. They hugged her tightly, tears in their eyes. Her mother said, We have missed you so much. Her father nodded. You are our daughter. Lauren smiled. It is good to see you happy. They talked about old memories, about the fun times they had shared. Then, suddenly, her father said, We saw your fiancé manage big projects. The Vale name is known in real estate. Her mother added, Maybe we could work together. Family helping family. Lauren signed, It would be great for everyone. Saris felt a sudden change in their words. She realized their apologies were not really about her. They were about using Cashin and his business connections. She signed firmly, This is not about business. Her father signed, We just want to be involved. Saris stood up and signed back. You had years to be involved. Now it is too late. She left the cafe without looking back. Cashin was waiting outside. Saris signed, They wanted to use you. Us. He signed, I am sorry. Saris signed back, I am not. That made everything very clear. They walked away together, leaving the past behind. Saris then wrote a letter herself. It was formal and very clear. It said that no one in her family could contact her again. No calls, no messages, no visits, ever. She got the letter notarized and sent it by certified mail. Then she blocked every way they could reach her: phone numbers, emails, social media accounts. She didn't do this because she was angry. She did it to protect her peace and her happiness. Her family received the letter, but didn't try to challenge it in court. Instead, the story from the resort night came back online. Some photos from that night were shared by a witness, and the pictures went viral. People wrote, How can parents abandon their deaf daughter like that? This is so sad. The story spread across social media platforms. People recognized the family names. Some of their business connections noticed the story too. When Robert and Patricia tried to start talks about working together again, mentioning family ties, Cashin's team looked at the proposal carefully. They politely said no because their priorities were different. The big deal Robert and Patricia were working on failed. Investors pulled out of the project. Their company, already having money problems, lost opportunities one by one. Lauren's life had changed too. The online attention reached her workplace. People started asking questions. One day, during a stressful team meeting, she made a sharp comment about people who cannot keep up in fast-paced work. A coworker reported her. HR investigated and found that her comment went against the rules. Lauren was fired. There was no big scandal. It was just normal company rules being followed. Saris heard about all of this through friends who were far away. She didn't try to find out on purpose. She focused on her own life and her new happy family. Days turned into routines filled with warmth. In the mornings, Zephyr showed Saris his new construction projects. Lyra shared her drawings over breakfast. Kian challenged her to races in the yard, but he always let her win just enough to make her laugh. Cashin quietly worked on his projects, but was always home in time for dinner. They signed about small things, school events, weekend plans, and their dreams for the future. One evening, as the children played nearby, Cashin signed, This feels right. Saris signed back, It does. The children ran over and jumped on them all at once in a big group hug. Zephyr signed, You are our mom. Lyra signed, Always. Kian signed, We love you. Saris signed back, I love you all too. Cashin signed, We are a family. Saris looked around at them and understood something very important that she had learned through all the pain and sadness. True family is not about blood or about shared history. True family is the place where you are loved completely, without conditions, without hidden plans. True family is where love shows up every day. In quiet moments, in laughter, in support that asks for nothing in return. She signed to Cashin, I finally feel like I belong. He signed, You always did. We just needed to find each other. As the children laughed and played nearby, Saris felt the heavy weight of the past disappear completely. The silence that once made her feel alone now connected her to Cashin, to the children, and to a future full of love, peace, and acceptance. From that day on, life became full of little happy moments. Breakfasts were filled with laughter and chatter. Afternoons were full of games, stories, and play. Evenings were warm, with everyone signing about their day, sharing dreams, and hugging each other. Saris knew that she was finally in the right place, with people who loved her for who she truly was. She realized that sometimes the people who are supposed to be family by blood might not be the ones who show true love. But the people who care for you every day, who laugh with you, cry with you, and support you no matter what, they are your real family. And so, in that quiet little home filled with love, Saris, Cashin, and the children built a life together. They had happiness, laughter, and peace. The past no longer weighed on Saris. She had found a family where she belonged. A family that loved her not because they had to, but because they wanted to.